Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro Friends. Today we're going to be talking about asking the questions and having the conversations, shifting the quality of the information we're basing our careers, our lives, and our businesses on, so that we can make sure that the decisions that we are making are based on great information. Where this was born from was the fact that we have a coffee crisis on our hands right now. We're in the middle of a coffee crisis, and I felt really helpless. I don't know enough about the situation. I don't know enough about what the possible solutions are because I don't know enough about the information. So I went and I started asking questions. And the people I was asking these questions of were people who I would have typically assumed knew far more than they actually did know. And what I found was that the number of people that did know a lot of information were a lot less than we think in this industry. And so what I decided to do was just to go and find out the information myself. And in doing that, what I discovered was there are bigger gaps in this story than what we think. On Tuesday next week, that's Tuesday the 4th of June, we will have Carly Garner on the podcast, on the main Map It Forward podcast. She is a futures trader, a commodities trader in coffee, as well as being a futures broker. Now, I had a conversation with Carly yesterday, and I'm ridiculously excited about this conversation because Carly is very, very experienced at commodities trading and at trading on the sea market. Here's the interesting thing. In all her wealth of knowledge about this part of the world that she is an expert in, she's got a book out. She speaks publicly on TV about commodities trading. She advises people. She is a fucking superstar at what she does. I mentioned suicide and depression of coffee farmers, and she had no idea this was going on. And she was seriously and deeply concerned about it. And we tend to think that the people who are making all the money, or we think are making all the money, are the bad guys. Yesterday, it really drove home when I had this conversation with Carly that the conversations we have with people, the way we seek to get informed and to inform people is just so important in the way that we then go on to make decisions ourselves. If Carly doesn't have the information about what's going on in other parts of the coffee supply chain, because as a trader, Carly is absolutely a part of the supply chain. Even though she's not from the coffee world, she's trading on the sea market, and that puts her smack bang in the coffee supply chain. But she's completely unaware of the real life consequences of what's going on from the other perspective of the stakeholders in the same supply chain that she's a part of. And until somebody had a conversation with her, this wasn't something that she was considering. It wasn't something that was in her wheelhouse. It wasn't something that she had been privy to. Not because the information's not out there, but because we all live really busy lives, and it's hard enough just to get the work done that we need to get done to maintain our own workloads. And so when I came away from that conversation and I was speaking to her about things like specialty coffee, she has no idea about the specialty coffee market that's emerging. This is the first she's heard of it. Imagine how great a 2-hour conversation is going to be between her and I, enlightening each other about each other's worlds. I can't tell you how excited I am. and it will go on to inform both of us, both Carly and myself, about the way in which we go on to make decisions. This is why I have these conversations on the podcast publicly, because I hope that the information that I'm gathering, the details and the quality of guests that we bring on the podcast inspire you to go and seek people who are of the same caliber as the information that you know has integrity. It has, it's rooted in wisdom. We're not just looking at the kind of sort of people that know. We're not. That's not good enough for what we're trying to achieve. And shout out to Christopher Versace. It's amazing the network that you built. And when I talk to you guys about integrity, when I talk to you guys about building a life that you've chosen and a life that you can be proud of, this was a really great consequence of that being a consequence of me building a life of integrity for myself. Christopher Versace walked into a cafe in Austin, Texas, saw Elixir, bought it then and there, and then purchased it to have shipped on our website to other people. He went into, shout out to Merit Coffee, because Nisha and Robbie from Merit Coffee are very important to me because of the integrity that they bring to the coffee industry. And we just had a really instant connection. Now, Christopher Versace walks into Merit. He purchases Elixir. He gets it shipped to the co-host of his podcast. I don't know this guy from a bar of soap. He contacts me and has an investing podcast called Cocktail Investing. And it's about niche market investing. Asks me to come on the podcast about 2 years ago now. Went on the podcast. Christopher and I have remained acquaintances. When the coffee market first started to crash, I contacted him and said to him, hey, listen, are you aware of what's going on? He said, no. Can you come on the podcast and talk about it? That was about a year ago. And then when I mentioned to him that, listen, I really want to speak to somebody on my podcast about the sea market. Do you think that you could come on and talk about it? And he said, it's not really in my wheelhouse, but let me find someone for you. And he found Carly for me. And Carly and I were able to get on the phone and do it immediately. This is what having integrity and doing the right thing by yourself, making sure you don't fuck other people over. This is what it brings for you and for the opportunities moving forward in your career. Now, if you're not somebody who already has that, you can carve that into your life. It simply means making the decision of, okay, I've got to reshape the way I approach people. I've got to stop doing these destructive, dysfunctional things that are going to prevent me from having rad people in my life. Because the quality of the information that you bring in can only be at the standard of the people that you also bring into your life. That way, if there's things that you don't know, you can go and ask people and find out firsthand. And these things take time to build. These things take effort. They take you having to make hard decisions, not wanting to hang out with cool kids who don't have a fucking idea what they're talking about. It means you're going to hang out with the people who are smarter and are prepared to do the hard work, because they don't have time to go and be Insta famous. They're the ones who are always spending time taking selfies while you're out there building really solid relationships. Make sure that you tune in on Tuesday. Get on our mailing list to find out the details and links, etc., mapperforward.org. If you want to support this podcast, please also get on that mailing list. We'll be sending a list of things that you can do to help support the podcast so that we can continue to do the work that we're trying to achieve. Peace, love, and peanut butter, friends. Have an amazing rest of your day.